Hey everybody, welcome to wherever you are. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning. My name is Kevin Smith. With me is my esteemed partner Damian Loth, and we are here to talk about magazine publishing for entrepreneurs. So, without further ado, let me share my screen and we'll get right to it. All right, everybody see my screen okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So what we do as a company is help people brand new to magazine publishing start magazines and turn them into recurring revenue machines. Here are a dozen magazines that are on our platform. I just want to stop here for 1 second and show that this is not some cheesy e-zine. This is not some PDF download. These are real, beautiful, glossy 21st century magazines that would look every bit at home on the airport newsstand. And just a quick thing of our company. Company's been in business, operating continually since 2013 as a platform. Um, we have just started teaching our, shouldn't say just start, we have been teaching our system since 2017, so 7 years of history in what you're about to see today, and built upon a history of success. So here's some highlights. We have a solo entrepreneur, sorry, going ahead of myself, solo entrepreneur who has moved to 2 continents, has a staff of 50, all kinds of magazines that have 100 or more issues in the platform, all kinds of spin-off businesses that have come as a result. Calendars, print versions of magazines, coffee table books, really a cornucopia of different places where people then grow their businesses into six-figure consulting gigs, 6 and 7 figure exits from magazine businesses when they trade hands. And it's not just one vertical. These are just a half dozen or five different magazines here that show this isn't a one trick pony. This isn't something that just works, let's say, business coaching or um, art
We're
magazines or
constantly
photography.
we're constantly surprised by the ever expanding number of niche markets that successful magazines are launched into. It's so broad, and in fact, sometimes the more narrowly the market is defined, the more successful the magazine is.
And we'll show you that in just a second here, too. So the thing I just want to pause on while we're sort of getting our sea legs under us is that no matter what business you're doing today, chances are what you're going to see today will show you exactly how through a magazine you can enhance what you're doing, grow your leads, and so forth. So let's look at why you're here. You're here to figure out how you can use a magazine to either position yourself or reposition yourself better in any market, and how you can make more money from your content by owning a magazine. What we're going to show today are these things. Number one, how to build a list faster, more affordably, and more engaged than you've ever seen. Now, I am not talking about something cheesy and goofy like, oh, just put a form on your website. This is an entire strategic shift that we're going to be talking about today in what's possible in list building. I myself, over the course of my 20 odd year career in internet marketing, I've sent over a billion emails of marketing content. So this is not just some new shiny thing. And what we be showing today is not about forms. This is a strategic
Yeah, it's not the
difference,
mechanics of collecting email addresses.
right? So other than list building, which we're going to get into right away, we're going to show how you can source content for a magazine for free and what a recurring income stream can look like for you as a magazine owner. Lastly, the why question. Why should you start a magazine and why now? Why today? Here are the 7 reasons that over the past 11 years of being involved in digital magazines with Magcast, what we've seen people need and what we can get from starting a magazine.
We hear these consistently.
Yeah, these are the big challenges. Number one, how can I stand out in the market? How can I improve my influence? I've got low visibility, that kind of thing. People who have irregular or one-off revenue streams. Growth that's slow or tapering, very minimal growth. Challenges getting new opportunities. People say, gosh, if I could just get my foot in the door. Number six, prospects who have hesitance, prospects who are, I just don't know, and they have a trust problem. And lastly, leads. Inconsistent lead quality. Every one of these things that I have on the screen now in the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to expose how exactly our members are solving these problems through owning a magazine and how you can be doing it too. So the flip side of this, because now that we've shown these are the problems, what is it like under the hood of a magazine, behind the scenes as an owner? Number one, as a magazine owner, you will stand apart from the crowd. This ain't a TikTok channel. This is not some new shiny AI object or what have you. This is a prestigious property that you own as a magazine, so you stand out. Number two, status, authority, credibility. They're all baked into the owning of a magazine as that magazine publisher. Recurring revenue stream. That's what subscriptions are all about. Magazines enhance your existing business. Unless you're selling paper towels or toilet paper, no matter what industry you're in, that industry is primed for a magazine. Opening doors. In the lead up to this, I talked about my experience getting on board a P51D Mustang. Those types of stories are not unique to me. All the time, every month, we have publishers come to us and say, "You guys are not going to believe." And of course, it's some great story that's similar to many that we've already heard. And that's the beauty of owning a magazine, is they do open doors for you. Last two things, magazines you'll find create trust, unlike anything else you've ever experienced, and you get leads. What we're going to show today is exactly how to do it. We will be holding nothing back, and how you can generate leads literally for free using the power of a magazine. So let's get into the list building aspect of things. We're, as promised, about 5 minutes into this and already getting into the good stuff. Everybody here knows list building, list building, list building. It's so important. We're not going to insult you and say, hey, let's talk about forms and things like that. No matter what topic you're working in, this is the technique that is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen. So PPC, search traffic, social, every other channel out there, your email list is going to outperform it. And that's why we're starting with it. I have personally spent over $1 million in PPC. I would rather, if I had to start my business over from scratch, I would rather have my email contact list over any other asset. The challenges are, though, when you're starting out building an email list, it is hard. Or scaling it. It's hard to grow. It's hard to start. It's hard to scale. You've got a big ad spend that's required to get started, really, if you're doing it the traditional way. And you got this chicken and the egg problem where you say, okay, well, I know I need to write email content, but I don't have any subscribers yet, but I don't have any subscribers. So how can I get the subscribers? It's a whole thing. We're turning it on its head and we're saying, no, all of those concerns that you have about list building, let's push them aside, because here's how we're going to do it. This is the only method that I know of in 20 plus years that your costs will stay literally zero. This is not hyperbolic. We're not talking about going out and spending any ads, buying any ads, doing any of that stuff. And where not only are you getting the new contacts coming in for free, but everybody's winning. Here it is. Here's our method. This is the secret sauce of what we do as magazine publishers in Magcast.
And it's a little counterintuitive. So
it is definitely counterintuitive. So when you are starting your magazine, you're going to be looking for content, and you're going to be contacting the C listers and the B listers in your space. I'm not talking about going after the A listers. We'll get to those folks in a second. You're looking for the up and coming players. Who are the folks that are the contrarians, the new thought leaders, the folks that have got something that's different, that's special, that they're saying out there right now, and we're going to be contacting them. We're then going to offer them the magazine treatment of existing content that they already have. That's interesting. We're not getting them to write content. We're not asking them to go do anything other than give us consent. That's it. They're going to provide the content to you, and then they're going to go brag about it. Their fans, their followers will get something special in this exchange. We'll show you how in a second. Their fans and followers are then going to opt into your email list to get access to the free or discounted content where their star is featured. So invariably, right now, everybody's sitting back like this going, does this really work? Yes, this works. We have seen it work across all kinds of different magazines. We'll call out here Good Light Magazine. 10 years in the platform, something like that.
Yes.
Hundreds of issues published, 130 or something like that. Every photographer featured in here. If you've ever, I have a degree in photography, and every photographer out there is super guarded about, oh, well, my copyrights and ownership and this, that, and the other. And in Good Light Magazine are some of the world's leading fashion and portrait photographers, all of whom have provided their content to the magazine for free for a decade.
And again, it's important to note here, this is not a general photography. covering all aspects of all photography. It's narrowly focused on portrait, glamour, boudoir photography. So very narrow with a very loyal readership.
Yeah, we have readers of this magazine in the platform that have been with the magazine for absolutely years. There's subscriptions every month, subscriptions come in. So here is why this works and why magazines like Good Light and all of their readers and all their contributors participate. How many times have you been featured in a magazine? It is the same for absolutely everybody. Everybody has this enhanced status and credibility that is baked into them being featured in a magazine. Take my brother-in-law, he's a financial planner, started his practice in Beverly Hills. When you'd go into his office, all around the office were all of the magazines that he had been featured in. And it's the same for celebrities, as everybody wants to have that clout that comes with the implied endorsement of being featured in a magazine. That's why this works. And it's also one of the things that the reasons why this works is because magazines are just about the best showcase there is of a creator's work, whether it's written, whether it's art, whether it's video.
And let's
When
just
you're putting
pause
it,
here quickly, because when you're talking about sourcing content, you're obviously looking for high quality content. Nobody who's capable of producing a thought leader quality article, which they've poured 5, 6, 10 hours of sweat into, nobody produces an article of that quality and doesn't want the largest audience possible to see their work, appreciate their work, and maybe reach out to them to learn more.
yeah, it's sort of the idea of how can thought leaders lead if nobody reads their thoughts? That's what we're talking about here, and why getting additional reach through the magazine is through a magazine is one of those things that everybody fundamentally gets. And here's the thing: unlike whatever business you're in today by itself, when you augment it with a magazine, when you become a publisher, you get to be the one that connects the thought leaders to an expanded audience and the audience back with these thought leaders. That's fundamentally why this works and why it works like anything, like nothing else. You have value as a publisher that you are creating, and that value can be exchanged for whatever, including getting content and so on. So that's it. That's how we build a list. That's how we have all of these magazines in our platform and all these publishers who have these great successes, and how they can do it. It's because they've created this value that they're exchanging, and the people on the other end of the value exchange inherently get it. Now, I promised that it was going to be faster, cheaper, more engaged, all of that stuff. This is it. This is how you do it. And that's also why, as a magazine publisher, hearing yes becomes the norm. This isn't hyperbolic. This is one of those things where I'll tell you right now, about 3 million people a month read magazine content based on our platform. About a person and a half a second are
Let me
tapping on
give
their
you
home screen and opening the magazines.
let me give you an anecdote from a coaching call I did with a brand new member who is working on their first issue now. They have reached out to 35 potential contributors, and they have yeses from 18 of them. So if you can think of any other business outreach where you can achieve that level of conversion, I'd love to hear about it, because I've worked in sales and marketing my entire career. And those kind of conversions for somebody who is 100% brand new to the industry, to publishing, to owning a magazine, and to negotiating these type of value exchanges. It's not putting a man on the moon. There is a formula. You plug in and adjust according to your specifics and your market, and away you go. We've seen it time and time and time again.
One thing I just want to add on the back of what you're saying is this is a new publisher too. This
Brand new.
isn't somebody
Yeah.
this isn't somebody even with 2 issues under their belt that has their feet under them and really knows, oh yeah, this is how to do this. This is the first crack at this. So here are 4 different magazines across different verticals: a business magazine, an art magazine, a tiny house magazine, and a photography magazine. This just goes back and sort of re-echoes what I was saying earlier about this not being this thing that only works in one particular niche. You've got things as diverse as business buying and resin art. Okay,
And just
they're different.
to speak to the caliber of A-list contributors that you do eventually get to if you follow the blueprint. Wildlife Photographic showcases annually some of the most accredited, award-winning international photographers that there are. In fact, those photographers, some of them reach out to the magazine and offer them the first opportunity to publish their new work. And they use what's published in the magazine because the magazine showcases their work better than they can on their own website to a much larger audience than they can on their own websites. So they come to Wildlife Photographic to get that magazine layout treatment, and then they use that to promote things like exhibitions in galleries in Aspen, in one example that I was told. So there is almost no end to where you can scale this once you get the system in place.
Speaking of scaling, that was our next point. So scaling isn't just one contributor. And that's what we're doing here is it's really just wash, rinse, repeat. So let's take average magazine has got about a dozen articles. We'll take 10 here as an example. So this is the second part of the secret blueprint that we're revealing today. All of the contributors are then going to get something like this from you that they will take to their fans and followers to post on social and to send as email broadcasts. They're going to say, hey, so I did a thing, got featured in a magazine in our space. I've worked to deal with the publisher for you to get free access to the issue with my article. Free, truly free, no credit card, no strings. Here's the link. Now, of course, as publisher, it's up to you to figure out what kind of relationship, what kind of discount, if any, that you want to offer that person's tribe. But you get the idea. This is one of those places where you're now going and getting the real credibility and endorsement of being a publisher, standing atop somebody who already has a relationship. Right here is the formula. So here's where the magic happens next in this. That link that they post on social or email broadcast gets clicked. The reader is then going to fill out the form, drop in their name and email, and they're going to get access to the magazine. You're in exchange going to get that reader's contact info. Let's recap what in the heck has just happened and zoom out to the bigger picture here. You have just given a thought leader in your space that already has a community. You've just given them so much value that they gave you their content and then turned around and bragged about it to their tribe. Their tribe, who we already know is pre-qualified as being interested in the same stuff that your business is in, their tribe has gone from being theirs and their customers to now being your tribe and your customers too. And the best part about it is everybody involved has won. It's a bit like an opening band. You go to the U2 show, Rolling Stones, whatever it may be, there's often somebody before the headlining act. They've got an opening act. A lot of folks who are there to see U2 are also now going to become fans of the opening act. And that's what's happening here too, is where we're sort of moving throughout the same spaces of where these folks hang out, and we're drawing them all in and then reflecting them back out. So we're going to look now, as we zoom out again, we're going to look at one particular example here. Let's talk about Susan. So Susan is a C-lister in your space, but man, she has some fantastic content that you want showcased in your magazine. So then we've got Dave. Dave's got a little bit bigger audience in Torrey and Lamont and so on. And the total reach for promoting that first issue is 100,000 folks in this example. Now remember, this 100,000 reach, you have paid zero for. You have access now to marketing to all of these folks without having spent a single dime. What about somebody like Kim? Kim's the heavy hitter here. She's got about 20,000 folks. That may be so. And The folks that are in Susan and Dave and Tori and everybody else's tribes here don't necessarily have any knowledge of Kim. So even for somebody that's fairly far along in their journey, even for them, the prestige and credibility and endorsement of a magazine is going to be worth their time. And they're going to stand up and say, yeah, I want to be participating in this.
And yes, they want to be introduced to another 80,000 people who are also in their potential target market.
I'll tell you a very quick story. I don't want to name names in this. There's of a magazine publisher who was in their sixth issue. So they were publishing bi-monthly. This was the sixth issue of their year, of the year, and they had a very big blogger who was the undisputed heavyweight champ of their business. They were the A-lister. And they were talking with me, doing a one-on-one coaching with them. And, oh, Kevin, I don't know if it's the right time for us to get in touch with such and such. We really want to, but she's huge. She's got six figures of followers. We don't even know how many in her email list. It turned out to be even bigger than they imagined. So they go to this blogger with this same blueprint that I'm sharing here. And the reaction was, yeah, of course I want to be involved with you. You guys are a magazine. I've never been featured in a magazine. So it was sort of like that Spider-Man meme where the publisher is pointing at the blogger and the blogger's publishing or pointing at the mag publisher, and everybody's going, yeah, let's do this. And that led to them having a tremendous, tremendous month in sales, even though they'd already been doing really well. So let's move on now and look at what's happening. The readers from one tribe, they're now going into, and for the first time perhaps ever, seeing the content from the other folks featured in that same magazine. So the same thing that's happening for you in that you're now getting access to all of these new readers, all of these new leads and contacts, all of the other folks who are featured in the magazine too, and who have content to share now for the first time are getting to have other folks who'd never heard of them either come and be exposed to their content. The whole point is that it really is an everybody wins scenario. So as we sort of move into the next steps of this, yes, we have the contact information from the reader. They're now a lead and so on. It's time to start nurturing relationships. We're not going to be clubbing people over the head with buy. You're never going to hear Damien and me talking about sending an email blast. That is just crass, and it devalues the real relationship and trust that's happening between you and these readers. So we're going to be nurturing that. We're going to be sending real content and doing good stuff in the inbox. What we're doing then is moving beyond the pages of the magazine into their inboxes, because soon it's going to be time to take them back from the inbox and into the magazine with an offer. So done right, this becomes so much more than just subscription revenue. This becomes a genuine, viable, repeatable lead source again and again and again that's built upon trust, that's built upon these endorsements that you've had from these third parties that have said, hey, I've been featured in this magazine. So let me give you a story, true story of a launch that happened last summer. Husband-wife team, they had a real interest in an enthusiasm for a particular vertical where the existing magazines that were sort of adjacent to it touched upon it, but there were no magazines in the space dedicated to their niche. So they saw an opportunity in this and said, look, if we can go and do this, we will follow your blueprint and do this exactly because we think we're onto something. So pre-launching from all of the other sort of celebrities that were being featured in their magazine, they had about 3,000 people pre-launch on their list. This is before they even had a single character, one letter of content live. They had so much enthusiasm. 3,000 people signed up and said, yeah, I would love to see a magazine about this. That's who I am too. Of those 2,900 or so people, 63% purchased. So when they went live, they went from zero to, oh my gosh, I've got a real business. Some people bought individual issues, some people bought descriptions, but they went from zero to, this is a real business right out of the gate. Now, I don't want to imply everybody goes live and has this kind of success. Their numbers are definitely way above average. They're above the norm. I love to share this though because it shows what's possible. On the flip side of that, yes, of course, not everybody comes in and does this kind of thing. Some people come in and do absolutely nothing. It's really
You
just
know
a
what? Some
reflection
people
though
have
of what's
come,
possible. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
people have come in and done better. It's simply a great illustration of following the blueprint precisely, and it works.
So I promised earlier that we were going to talk about the A-listers. Here it is. Absolutely never contact the A-listers earlier in your launch. If your next door neighbor across the back fence is Oprah Winfrey, you're not going to go to Oprah first. You're going to wait. The reason is the A-listers are going to get invited after there's already enthusiasm for your magazine. So just like I mentioned earlier, with that A-lister, the blogger that our publisher went to after they had some track record, that blogger was then mind blown because they're being invited to a party that's already happening. And here's why it works. You realize as a publisher, you're going places whether or not the A-lister is involved. They don't have to participate and they're not being leveraged for you to succeed. You flip that coin over, and it's the same thing for the A-lister. The A-lister also internalizes, wait a minute, this magazine is going places even if I'm not involved. I don't have to do anything, and they're still going to the moon. And wait a minute, for once, folks aren't trying to leverage me. I've got to sign up. Get me on this. I want to attach my wagon to this because it's important for me to be associated with something this big in this space. So I want to take a step back and ask this question really sincerely. From what you've seen and what you're doing now to build audiences and build lists and build leads, is there anything better than a list that you have built for free via warm intros that build trust? So, on that note, I want to also ask, what would you do with yours? What would you do with your list that's been built this way, where you've got this other property now that's giving you the status and credibility, and you've now got leads coming in regularly? Every time you go publish, every time you go do outreach, what would you do with yours? And the next thing in this is, okay, great, this is what you do, and direct monetization. That's the other thing that's happening. That's what we call it. Direct monetization, what I mean is you're now selling atop the endorsement from somebody that they already trust. So in indirect monetization, shall we say, you have to go through the entire trust building process. Somebody comes in from PPC, from SEO, from wherever, and now you've got to go build that trust. This is an indirect thing. It's not, oh, I can trust this person. Let's go. And immediately somebody's down the path to purchase. That's the second thing that's happening is this type of um, direct monetization. So
Because let's go back and understand how they arrived on your list. It was through the endorsement provided by a thought leader that they may have been following for a decade. And they have said, hey, I'm being featured in this fantastic magazine, and I've got you an opportunity to get a free issue. That's how they join your list. It's a very warm introduction and endorsement.
so what's happening here next is you now have a channel that you own that can lead to all these other ways that you can start doing ascension marketing. What I'm talking about is where you're paying subscribers, they're now primed to buy other products for you. So what if we look a little bit deeper than this and think about what's happened? What's happened is somebody has paid you to become your lead. And now they're telling you they voted with their wallets. Yes, I'm interested. I want to become a subscriber and so on. They're now ready to go up a marketing channel with you where you can offer other things of value to them. Let me give a real world example. It happened back March, April this year. So this was another magazine in our platform. They were super reluctant. They had about 8,000 odd subscribers in their email, and they were so reluctant to offer a workshop. I pushed them to do a survey. They did a survey. They got the survey results back, and overwhelmingly, of the 8,300 people in their tribe, everybody wanted workshops. So I said, guys, the writing is on the wall here. You guys have got to do a workshop. Oh, well, it's so much work and we don't have the content. and we don't know if anybody's going to buy. I said, forget all that. Go find somebody right now in your space that does a workshop, who is an A-lister of workshops, and offer them a rev share. Do 50-50, offer them a rev share just for you to go do this. Fine. So they went to the educator that they wanted and said, look, if we do a 50-50 rev share with you and we put the butts in your seats, would that be of interest to you? Loudly, thunderous, yes, let's do this, because their ad cost, we came to find out later, their ad cost was actually greater than 50%. So this was, yes, let's do this. So the educator then got other instructors involved and so on. It was a 2-day workshop entirely in Zoom. So they had 300 people of their 8,200, 8,300 folks, 300 people register at $500 a head. So they paid 50% to the educator and so on. After processing credit card fees and all that stuff, they walked away with $70,000 net. And all they did is make the arrangement, send the emails, promote the session, and come in the first day and first couple of minutes and last couple of minutes and say, hey guys, I'm glad you're here, so on, and do the wrap up. So
Because
this,
here's the thing. People who subscribe to a magazine on calligraphy are telling you that they are also there to make further investments in supplies, in learning about better tools, and in learning greater level of instruction. Same thing goes for wildlife photographers. Wildlife photographers spend 20, $30,000 on a single wildlife photography expedition. So if they're subscribing to your magazine, you're in a very good position to offer them these other very high ticket opportunities for a referral fee. You don't even have to deliver the product yourself.
and it's the same, not just in things like photography or calligraphy, it's the same for acquisition aficionado with business coaching and all kinds of other offers that it's put together through its magazine for their tribe. Same thing again for, let's say, Tiny House. For Tiny House to offer sessions and summits on what to do to get started in searching for your tiny house, you guys get the idea. Somebody has already voted with their wallet. They're now interested in the topic for sure. They're primed to have other products offered to them that provide real value. Now, this doesn't just work for workshops, training series, things like that, destination travel that Damien's mentioned. We've seen lots of offers for back-end members areas where it may be whatever, $97 a month back-end member area. We've seen books, calendars, coffee mugs, all kinds of other things. Coffee table books I already mentioned.
And
You get the idea.
they vary enormously depending on the market that the magazine's operating in.
So this isn't a case where when we look at what's happening in the big picture, this isn't a case where you're going out and spending CPC dollars and putting the money into the Google machine, into the slot machine, going, I wonder if this works. You're getting endorsed, you're getting the content, you're getting the marketing outreach, all of this stuff from people who are absolutely primed and in the right vertical that you're in. This isn't a case of having bots coming by and going, oh, well, we're throwing away 50% of our traffic on bots. We know this, the Russian ad. There's none of that. Everybody that's in here is a real person, and everybody is interested in the same things that your magazine is about. So let's talk now about what if it's a different topic. What if you're doing one thing and the magazine's something slightly adjacent or different? More often than not, that's just fine. And the reason is we as people are so multifaceted. The psychographics of the magazine are more important than being matchy-match. I'll tell you about Wildlife Photographic. The best performing ad in that magazine for 3 years running has been a fat measuring scale, a body fat scale, digital scale. It's a beautiful thing. And you look at that and you say, why in the heck would a scale be the best performing ad in a photography magazine? Wouldn't it be camera gear? And it's not. And here's why. If you think about who the readers are of a wildlife photography magazine, they're folks who are 45 plus, who have some nickels to rub together, who are going to go on a hike on the Appalachian Trail. They're going to go to the Australian outback, they're going to go to Antarctica, whatever. And they say, I've got 6 months before that trip. We've already spent 18 grand on it, and I really can't be carrying around these extra 10 pounds. There you go. That's why that scale does well. And that's why, even if you're thinking about two different things here for the magazine content, you're probably going to be just fine. Let's look at a golf magazine. You go open a golf magazine today, you are just as likely to see ads for web servers, financial services, travel, those kinds of things as you are golf products. And because that's what the readers are into. And it's the same for everybody with an IQ greater than room temperature. We're diverse people. We have multiple interests. And you know what? That's the same thing. It's the same thing for you. It's the same thing for your readers. Let's go now and look at the content. What about the content? What you may not have noticed here, maybe you did, is you ain't writing the content here. In this model, this isn't like writing a book. This isn't where, oh gosh, only got 3 more articles to do. There's none of that. What you're doing is becoming a curator. You're becoming the one that distinguishes the good, the great, and the exceptional. And those are the types of things that are then going to get included in your publication. And the best part of it is you're now getting paid ethically for other people's content. They're not only giving you the content, they're now endorsing it and going and bragging about it. They're shining their spotlights, all of them, onto your magazine. And you're in turn not just taking their spotlight shining, but you're, of course, reflecting it back upon them too through the publication. And the greatest part about the whole thing is you have become more than just a one-trick pony. You have built a business now that has a house list that you've built for free. You have contributors providing all of your content. You have the baked-in marketing that comes as a part and parcel with these contributors. You have only readers who have been pre-vetted as being interested in your topic. You've got all kinds of different monetization channels within the magazine that create multiple income streams, and you get the recurring revenue component from the subscribers. All of this gets to happen in something that isn't the new shiny. This isn't some fad. This is something that's going to be, it's been around for 500 years. It's going to be around for another 500. This is all in this legacy business that's dependable. You're now stepping outside of all of the BS, shenanigans that are going on of, is TikTok going to be around 6 months from now? What's going to happen in the Google algorithms? Oh my gosh, I can't reach my Facebook audience. All of that big tech stuff is gone. All of those concerns, because you own the venue. You own the entire house list. It's a very different thing. And that's why we're, sort of with our publishers, they've been succeeding quietly in plain sight for a decade now. And it's going to continue
And
working because it isn't the new shiny.
just as importantly, if the business or the product you produce, services you offer now fit perfectly as a back-end offer to the audience that you curate through your magazine, you are now so identifiably different. You are so in a class of your own. You're not fighting to be heard, trying to get your head above the noise of the entire marketplace, who, guess what, are all following the same tired old advice that everybody's given. Oh, put up an opt-in page and produce a report that people will give you their email for, and now they're on your list and you can sell them your marketing services. That sounds great, and everyone here knows how incredibly difficult and an utter waste of time it is most of the time. You want to get different results, you've got to be working a different strategy than all of those other people you're looking to get ahead of, or not even get ahead of, get separate and distinct from, so that you can make a unique offer to the audience that you can serve well. The magazine is the vehicle that gets you apart.
You think about the things that are out there sort of being pitched at large. Oh, lead funnel, got to have an opt-in page. And what we're saying here is there really is a better way, guys. There's a better way than fighting that fight, putting the money in the Google slot machine, figuring out what the best ad copy is and all. There's a simpler way. And it's right here with owning a magazine. So I want to now go and talk about subscriptions. We haven't really touched on the revenue side of magazine ownership, so let's get into that. Hey guys, so I slightly goofed the numbers that I showed during the webinar this weekend. I just want to go back and make a correction. So what we're looking at here is a model where we have 100 recurring subscribers that are paying for a quarterly magazine subscription. And we're showing a 75% retention from one quarter to the next. So what that looks like is in quarter one, we end up with about $1,200 in gross revenue. We keep 75 of those 100 subscribers from quarter one to quarter two. We end up with 175 paying subscribers in quarter two, and so on until at the end of the year, we've grossed roughly $9,300 in gross revenue on 780 purchases total, making up that money. So the thing other than the revenue that I want to focus on here is that this isn't this gigantic number. This isn't on 50,000 subscribers. And that's really the next thing here is, does this pass the smell test for you? And on 100 subscribers, this is what's possible just on the revenue of the quarterly subscriptions. Now, you may think of this in the perspective of, hey, from a website or what have you, the types of things that you may be normally used to, and you may be used to, well, for us to make any kind of real revenue, we've got to have 100,000 visitors a month, or really, sort of astronomical numbers. And as an indie magazine publisher, all those numbers shift. All those numbers become quite different. And you go up to, let's just say 500 in this model, and now 500 subscribers buying anywhere in that quarter. 500 subscribers are now worth $6,000 in gross revenue the first quarter, growing the same 75% retention through, so that at the end of the year, we're bringing in 16,400 in gross revenue and almost $47,000 on the entire year on 3,900 total sales. So the thing to keep in mind here that's so important about this compared to the model that you're using now is this $47,000 is money coming in that you've earned picking up 500 new leads. This isn't the model that you probably have now, where you're buying traffic from Facebook, from Google, from what have you, and you're paying money to get leads in. In this model, as a magazine publisher on our platform, what we're showing here is that it's possible to be generating new leads, 500 new leads in this particular model, 500 leads that over the course of a year are thousands of new leads coming in, where you've made $47,000 generating leads. So rather than this being cash flow out for lead generation, it's cash flow in and lead generation all at the same time. So let's crank this up one more notch and show what this looks like at 1,000 subscribers coming in a quarter. So 1,000 subscribers coming in grosses you just under $12,000 on this $11.99 sticker price for the quarter. We ratcheted up to the next subscription retention here. Now we've got 1,700 total buyers in the second quarter, so that at the end of the year, those subscribers have added up to 2,700 subscribers paying from you quarter after quarter, year after year, and that quarter has earned about $33,000 in gross revenue, or about $94,000 on the whole year. So this is the greatest part of it. That nearly 100,000, let's say, that $94,000 coming in was accompanied by thousands of new leads that were pre-qualified because the collaborator that you worked with endorsed you. And you already know, because of the relationship that the collaborator and the reader have, you already know that they're interested in the types of things that you're talking about in your magazine. And that's what's possible here as a magazine publisher versus the model you're using today. So what we've looked at is just people buying in those 4 months of the year where the quarterly magazine is publishing. But what else is happening? People really can subscribe every month. They can buy in February, even though you're publishing in January and April. They can buy in March. You guys get the idea. And what we haven't even done here in this model is we haven't even looked at the other possible revenue streams. There's no discussion yet of single issues. Yeah, single issues get purchased too, as do back issues. I mentioned in the run up to this session today, we had a guy come in, lovely Ken. Ken came in every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday for 2 months and bought 38 back issues of a magazine. If this had been a blog, that blogger would have made zero. or maybe a couple of bucks in Google
Well,
AdSense, a couple of
they had
pennies.
30, 38 visits. It's
Right,
not going to get you much in the AdSense market.
right. Yet this guy bought all of those at sticker. So for that publisher, they're looking every weekend at their numbers and our back end going, wow, is this the same guy? Yeah, it is the same. He's back again. God bless him.
And
Yes.
and that's
And he
something
kept
that's
coming
not
back.
it's something that's not automatically obvious when we talk about magazines that have published over 100 issues. Yes, it speaks to the length of time that the magazine has been in business, but what isn't as obvious is they are selling issues of magazines they published 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago today, and the people who buy them are just as interested in that issue as somebody who picked it up the day it was published 5 years ago.
And without going into the specifics of the numbers here, I'll just give some broad brushstrokes. Um, in one of our publications for last Black Friday and all leading up to this, I'd wanted to do a Crazy Eddie special, get everything in the back catalog for $10. And Damien crosses his arms and he says, "You're out of your mind. I'm never letting the entire back catalog go for $10. That's thousands of dollars of value." So I finally convinced him, just let me put the thing up. So we ran the promo for it, and suffice to say that there were thousands of dollars made on the back catalog over the course of 3 days. Like that, it was like we just went, "Boop, oh, let's just go and open the Watergate. Okay, there you go." And that's what's possible in a magazine that isn't possible for a blogger, that isn't possible for a TikToker or YouTube or what have you, because there isn't that built-in back issue evergreen ability to sell. So same thing then for sponsored stories for brand content. I'll give some specifics on that in a minute. And JVs and affiliate promos, like the one I mentioned earlier, where that publisher got 300 people in the room at $500 a head. These revenue streams are all available to you as a magazine publisher above and beyond the individual issue sales and the subscription sales. I just want to touch on stats and look at what the renewal rates really are. Across our entire system, this dates back years and years. We tend to see somewhere between 65 and 80% of readers renewing. So if you have this question of, gosh, do people actually renew? There you go. That's across, a lot lighted at 3 million readers a month. It's a lot of data that we're basing this on. Next month, next week's, next quarter, whatever the period is where somebody renews, most folks are going to renew their subscription with you. Some of our publishers, like one we mentioned earlier, they've got folks that have been with them for a decade. So this isn't, oh gosh, is this really a recurring revenue stream? Yes, it is. We see it month after month. And this system that you've seen here today, that's how you go all the way from, well, I've got an idea where you're starting all the way through to building a recurring revenue stream that you can have then the next month and the next month and the next year. And that's also how you can sell other products to an audience that you own. This isn't you trying to make a post on Facebook and hoping that 100% of your people, or heck, more than 10% of your followers are going to see it. Everybody that subscribes to your magazine gets the content. There you go. So I want to ask now, what would this mean for you? As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, content creator, what would it mean if you had a steady revenue stream that you could count on month after month, where you're building from one pay period, so to speak, to the next, where you're not going and reduplicating the work to come back with the same results? How much less stress would you have as an entrepreneur, as a content creator, if you're getting paid every month by Apple and Google and others? That's what's possible as a magazine owner. That's what's possible in our system. And here's the key: you are creating now, perhaps for the first time, more than just your product, more than just a list of email people, more than a recurring revenue stream, more than this channel, this venue that you own. You're doing it all in an entity that does all of those things, the magazine business. And how would this then affect you and your life as an entrepreneur if you could go beyond doing work once and have something where you benefit ongoing, have these back issues from all of these things. That's what our system is. That's what we've built over the past decade. That's what Magcast is. It's a way to create something real that doesn't require selling your soul to the AI devils or putting out, pump and dump garbage. You're building something real, and that's why we have magazines every year that get bought and sold. The companies that come in and buy the magazines say, wait a minute, this is a real business. That's why these things transact. That you can't do that with a TikTok channel. You can't do that with, a YouTube. And the thing of this all is it's not hard. How does this work? The way it works, and of course, what is our company? What is Magcast? Magcast is a one of a kind digital magazine publishing platform. We're a decade in business. We are all about the new publishers. We're not going after the car and drivers of the world. Everything that you've seen here today is about the small indie and helping somebody that's brand new. It is entirely flat rate. It's so simple and easy to understand. And a penny and a half, a person and a half a second are reading content that is based atop our magazine apps. Right now, as we've been talking, how many thousands of people have been tapping on home screens and reading content, reading magazine content that belongs to our publishers. Let's go now and look at some of those publishers. Look at these success stories. We'll touch on four broad niches: entrepreneurship, art, consulting, and the enthusiast consumer space. I'm going to name names in a second too. Just hang on. So in entrepreneurship, this individual who was early 20s at the time he started with Magcast, solopreneur, he now has offices in 2 continents, staff of about 50 folks. His is the magazine of record for the young entrepreneur, and it's the centerpiece of a growing business empire. In art, we have somebody that started as a blogger, working artist in her space, brought her spouse into the magazine. They had their first 5-figure sales month within the first year of starting, and they're now upselling subscribers to back-end workshops like the ones I mentioned earlier. That's another magazine that does back-end workshops. Consulting. This publisher started as a sort of corporate muckety muck, left his corporate career, started this business-focused magazine that everybody told him he was crazy to start. They are now getting 4 and 5 figures per article and per cover, and they have even been offered and joined a business partnership for specialized business insurance with no money put into the investment. All they put in was that they were magazine publishers.
All the
Last,
support from the magazine for the new
right.
business.
Thank you. Better said than I did. Last thing is the enthusiast consumer space. We have another individual. He retired from his primary career. He was also a blogger, pivoted to the magazine publisher space, grew his subscriber base to the point where he even started selling print. And eventually, in this past year or so, he sold his magazine business entirely. He had a staff of about 8, stole the magazine completely, retired fully. It was a 2-comma exit, significant. So who the heck are these folks? Founder, Calligraphy Crush, Acquisition Aficionado, and WDW Magazine. So all of these magazines, every one of them started atop Magcast. Every one of them has followed this blueprint that you've seen here today. And
I
every
think
one of,
I'd just like to
go
point
ahead,
out
sorry.
WDW is such a great example of a narrowly defined niche. WDW stands for Walt Disney World Vacations. Families who are regular attendees to Walt Disney World in Florida. This entire magazine serves just that readership, and it is a thriving, vibrant business. So just as an example, I was shocked and staggered when they joined the platform. I had no idea there was a market that was anywhere near as engaged and had the spending power that these folks do. But there you go. We're constantly surprised by the stellar success stories we get out of very obscure niche markets.
Same thing for Calligraphy Crush. Calligraphy as a magazine, there's enough audience there? Yes, there is. It's actually one of the best-selling magazines atop our platform, and follows the same blueprint you're seeing here today. So how do you get involved? How do I get started? What have you? Here's what's on offer today. The basics of it. One magazine title with an iOS app, an Android app, our own publisher's preview, and all the tech is included. Free app updates, free app upgrades. There's never a point where we're going to come to you 3 months, 6 months from now, whatever, and say, oh, the new version of iOS is out. You've got it. No, there's none of that. It's all baked in. There's no coding needed. This isn't where you're going to have to go put on your propeller hat and figure out some new tech. It is not about that.
Even
What
beyond that, Kevin, it's important people understand you will be registering with Apple and Google, but we represent you. You add us to your team. We build your apps. We submit them to the platforms for approval. We go back and forth if there are any things that they need adjusted. You don't have to touch any of the technical stuff whatsoever.
and worth saying now is over the past decade, we have a 100% success rate, not 99.9, 100% success rate getting magazine apps approved in Apple. Same
Yeah.
for Google, 100%. Let's go look at the bonuses now. Every one of these bonuses is built specifically and added here to help you have success as a publisher. The first bonus is our Magcast Academy. There are people, by the way, every bonus price that you see here is not some made up internet marketing type thing. These are the real prices that people are paying for it. We have in the Magcast Academy this super schedule friendly, we meet once a month back end sort of system. This is not tech support. This is not moving pixels around on the screen, pushing pixels, as I like to say. It is none of that. This is not how to use. This is your guide to the business of magazine publishing. This is your ability to understand, how do I become the owner of a media property? How do I do this? And how do I do these outreaches so people say yes? How do I figure out where to price my magazine and
And
how often
honestly,
I should
how to
publish?
leverage the opportunities you're not even thinking are available to you right now. It's opening your eyes to the world of possibility once you do own your magazine in your market.
I'll give you an example of that. There was a publisher a couple of years ago who started out, this is back in Corona actually, and they were about to have their sort of coming out party at this international event that would happen in their space once a year. And Corona shut all that down. So they're panicked, going, "We just bought the magazine membership with you guys. This entire thing is dead in the water. This was going to be our big event. Can we have our money back?" And we said, hold on, hold on, hold on. You got to flip this on your head. You guys are now not just the belle of the ball, you guys are the ball. Let's keep going forward and look at this differently. And like that, they got in touch with the people who had put together the annual event. And all of a sudden, this went from where are we going with this to, oh, this really is we're the ball. This is it. And like that, they went from having this concern of what are we going to do to, oh, we can
Well,
still do this. And now this is huge.
what they were able to do was um, provide something, a way for the event organizers to salvage and not have to fully refund all of their exhibitors by very quickly publishing a dedicated special issue of their magazine where all of the major sponsors were given the opportunity to present the new products and services that they were going to be showcasing at the
Event.
expo. They were also able to live stream presentations that were also going to be given at the event. And they even had interaction with the sales reps who were going to be attending. So they provided the vehicle for a virtual trade show and really pulled the organizers' butts out of the flames.
So what's happened? All this came together because of the Academy, and you will all have access to the Academy too. Super schedule friendly. We meet once a month, and you also have direct one-on-one access to Damien and me, including phone numbers. You have direct access to us 20 minutes a month, sorry, more than that, we're doing 30 minutes a month. 30 minutes a month where you and us get into a room and we talk through whatever the strategies are, whatever the tactics. Hey, I've got this opportunity. It is really unlike anything else out there. All of it kicks off with the bobsled run. Funny, silly name. Bobsled run is just 5 days. We go through as fast as we can with you. They're not full days either. It's about an hour a day, hour and a half. Super schedule friendly because once you get through it, you're done. You've got your sea legs under you. You've got your launch foundation and exactly the blueprint that you will be following because it's going to be different from Stan, from Stu, from Kim, from Dave. Everybody has their own individual blueprint to follow to go from I have this idea to now, oh, here's how I'm going to launch and what this looks like.
And if you
So,
can't attend live, everything's recorded. All of the companion material is available to you forever. It's there as your foundation.
and you go back through it as many times as you want. If you want to come through multiple bobsled runs, we have publishers all the time that come and say, can I go through this again? This was really valuable, but I feel like I didn't get everything out of it because sure, come on in. You can come back in multiple times, no problem. It's baked in the first year. So what's the next bonus? Well, actually, before we get on to bonuses, yes, there's a guarantee in this 30 days, money back, easy peasy. In the last 3 years, we've had 3 people ask for money back. So it's there if you need it, but chances are you're going to be very happy and it'll be the furthest thing from your mind. Next thing, like so much that we do in Madcast land, we do stuff differently. We put your membership on ice from the moment you start. And here's what I mean. Unlike everything else out there in membership based spaces, as soon as you buy with every other membership system, the clock starts ticking. Not here. The only time the membership starts is when you click publish and go live to the world the first time. So all the time you need with Damien and me, all the time you need getting your collaborators marshaled together, all the time you need to get your sea legs under you, get your content figured out, the marketing launch plan, all of that stuff, the membership is paused. So if you need 3 months to get started, cool, your entire membership is still here with us. If you need longer than that, if you say, gosh, I've got stuff coming up, there's no way I'm going to be able to get started on this until well after the new year, no problem. Guess what? The whole membership is still here. We're ready for you. We're ready to go when you are. You take as long
And
as you need.
and you can still attend the training material. You can still
Right.
meet with us and start putting as much of your plan together as time permits. But none of this has triggered your membership starting.
What we
It
want to
won't
do
start until you've published.
what we want to do with this is to help you take all the pressures of life off, all the pressures of business off. We want this to be fun and successful for you. And after a decade running, your membership is going to be here. It's going to be ready when you are. Any concerns that you have of, I don't know how long this is going to take for me, no problem. The full membership is here. It's on ice. We're ready when you are, which leads me to number 3. What about when you are ready? What does this look like? Well, that's baked in too. You say, gosh, this sounds great, but I don't know anything about graphic design. I don't know how this is. No problem.
And
We
look,
have
it's a very valid question because most people have no experience with graphic design. Certainly, the idea of producing a beautiful looking commercial grade magazine is way beyond conception. And that's why we've included this bonus. We work with a third party agency where I will work one on one with you, teaching you how to brief and work with remote designers, designers who are intimately familiar with both magazine layout and design and the nuances of producing a Magcast digital magazine, one that can incorporate audio, video embedded in the articles of the magazine. So you are taken by the hand and you're given a new skill so that you learn how to work with designers. But the very first issue that you publish is going to blow your socks off. It will look like something you'd pick up at the airport before boarding your flight.
And it's not just the issue itself, it's all of the icons, the masthead of the magazine, the splash screen, which is what shows up on your iPad or
Everything
phone.
graphically representing it.
Everything is included. And I want to emphasize here that this is not a template. This is not you going, well, I like this one the most of the ones that okay, not at all. You're going to work with Damien and the designers, and you're going to come back and say, you know what? I really like the cover of Harvard Business Review, but I like the table of contents of Us Weekly and the letters editor in Vogue. Can we somehow match these up? And the designers are going to scratch their heads and come back and say, like this. And I say this without hyperbole, more than 9 times in 10, the publisher says, yeah, how did you guys do that? Well, That's part of what Damien is going to be working
And
with you
again,
on, is
the
figuring out how to
the
do that.
the design project isn't finished until you're 100% happy with the issue. Simple as
Yeah,
that.
revisions are included. This isn't just take it or leave it. This is an iterative
Exactly.
process. So you walk away with a brand that you can go like that and say, yeah, I'm proud of this. This represents me and my company, me and my vision, and so forth, exactly as you have in your mind's eye. Our next bonus. So if you are familiar with the golf term, the mulligan, so we have a thing in Magcast for folks purchasing over this weekend webinar that we're calling the Magulligan. So here's the story. Anytime in your first year, if you want to start over, start from scratch with an entirely different plan, you want to rename, you want to rebrand, anything in between, it will cost you $1. So if you have these feelings now of, well, I really think I should start a magazine on dinosaurs because I've been interested in dinosaurs since I was a kid. Cool, let's get started. 3 months in, 4 months in, whatever, you may say, you know what? I'm not really that into publishing a dinosaur magazine anymore. I really should have gone with my other idea, which was to start a vintage Porsche magazine. Cool. Let's start over. No problem. It will cost you $1. So any concerns that you have about, gosh, I don't know if I'm making the right decision, all of those fears that you may have that are holding you back from acting, we're going to take that all away. We're going to
It's
take it
not the
away.
end of the world. You can leave the starting line and get into process knowing that the ultimate safety net is there for you. If you
And if
make the 100% wrong decision on your topic, despite the analysis we've done and despite working with you to determine it, that's okay. We start again, and you've already built up a lot of accumulated knowledge so that that second start will happen much faster as well.
and here's part of the reason why we're putting this in. It isn't that we expect anybody to use this. We put this in to help you get over the fear of decision making, because so often you're actually making the right decision with your magazine. But we've heard over the past decade so many times people say, but gosh, and they hyperanalyze and we get analysis paralysis. So
We
I've got
don't
two
want you
things that I'm interested in
to prepare
to
preparing to
start.
prepare to get ready to start, and then I'm going to publish.
Right.
We want you going because that's why you're going to join Magcast. But what prevents you from getting off the starting line sometimes is fear of making the wrong choice. So this bonus removes that fear. There are no consequences other than the small amount of time you may put into magazine number one before you change course.
So it's the safe, as Damien called it, the ultimate safety net here. We got your back. The next bonus is another big one. The entire second year of publishing, we're baking in this weekend. The entire second year, plus the runway of the membership on ICE. So for you, let's just say hypothetically, you say, I'm not going to be able to get to this till after the new year. It's going to take me 3, 4, 5 months. It ends up taking you 6. So this ends up being for you a 30-month membership because all of that on ICE time doesn't count. So even without that, though, this is still going to reduce your cost to about $4 a day. So we are well and truly talking about this one-of-a-kind opportunity to have people paying you to become your leads, all of the other stuff that we've talked about, and it's the cost of a cup of coffee to
That's
publish a
about
top
half a
magcast.
that's about half a Starbucks in Canada, where I am. So
There you
that's
go.
not a big lift.
So it's really not a big lift. We've got your back every step of the way. All of the bobsled run, all of the academy, all the one-on-one time, all the tech stuff, all of the ability for us to do the heavy lifting and figuring out what to do with the servers and the back end and all. We do it all. It's all baked in, and the second year is baked in too. So here's everything that's on offer today. The basics are one magazine title with an Android app, an iOS app that are your own brand. I didn't emphasize this earlier and I need to. This isn't your magazine living in a Magcast app with 3,723 other publishers. This is your brand. So on somebody's home screen, right next to Pinterest and Instagram and Spotify and all of their other favorite apps, is going to be your brand. They're going to be walking around with your brand in their pocket, just like Netflix, whether they're on Android, whether they're on iOS. The
In
publisher's
fact,
pre.
sorry,
Go ahead. Sorry.
quick
Yeah,
stat.
please.
The last time someone bothered to go through the App Store listings and identify all magazine apps on the App Store, roughly 11% of magazine apps on the App Store were Magcast apps, except nobody else would know that except us,
Right.
because every one of those apps is presented in the name of the magazine and produced and published by the company who owns the magazine. Nothing to do with Magcast.
So we like to say we're not just white label, we're no label because you're that front and center and we're that far in the background. So the next part of this is the publisher's preview app. I just want to touch on this really quickly. This is also baked in. It's the thing that you can do to test your magazine before you go live. So it's your private personal sandbox, so you can be absolutely confident that each magazine issue that you're producing looks perfect. It looks like what you have in your mind's eye. You can test in it as many times as you like before you go live. Free app updates, free app upgrades, all of that is baked in too. There's no point where we're coming to you asking for upgrade fees or any of that. The price is the price. The bonuses are a year of the academy, including kicking off with the bobsled run the first month. And by the way, if you can't attend the first month, cool. If you can't attend the second, it doesn't matter. The bobsled run is there for you. The academy, the entire membership is there for you on ice and ready to start only when you are. All the brand identity package that we mentioned earlier, your first issue, the icons, the splash screen, everything is baked in. Your second year of publishing atop the platform is baked in. This whole private launch blueprint, when we're working with you one-on-one, that's baked in. Your membership is on ice and the ability to take a McGulligan for a buck. All of that is included. So that's what's on offer this weekend. You can go to getmagcast.com now, get yourself registered, and get started and kicked off and done in time for the next bobsled run that we're going to be doing. And oh, by the way, yes, there are special fast mover bonuses. So the fast mover bonuses are these two. The first is a very small group, max 12 participants, small group workshop that I'm going to be doing on email, on launching an email. In my life, I've sent a billion plus emails, and this is that 20-year billion plus email collective knowledge distilled down to this one workshop. All of the stuff that you have questions about, and how do I talk to this tribe? How do I take somebody through Ascension marketing? All the questions that you may have about how to weave this into your existing business, all of that is baked in too. We will, if you don't have an email voice yet, we'll help you find your email voice. It's really, truly everything that you would possibly want and need to get over that hurdles and get over those fears of I've never built an email list and now you guys are telling me I have a list, or now you're telling me I'm telling you my list is going to be growing by leaps and bounds. Cool. Be one of the first 4 people today that get registered and you'll get access to this private launch workshop. The second thing is a drawing. This is being done as a drawing because there's a hefty fee that we have to pay for this to the publisher that gets this. What it is a handcrafted Business Insider guaranteed to hit the news wire article. So this thing is your real belle of the ball coming out party. It is going to go on 300 different syndication partners, Globe and Mail, Business Insider, all kinds of other websites. We have a max of 12 people who are going to go into this drawing. Is only the first 12 people who get registered this weekend who are going to be entered. We will choose one person at random, and you're going to get access to this handcrafted Business Insider article release.
It's
So
a crafted news story that announces the birth of your magazine, and it puts it on the public record forever through this massive syndication, which is led by Business Insider.
whoops, sorry, I moved that off the wrong screen there. I was trying to get the questions pulled up. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so let's now go and wrap this up.
Just give
So
people who may just be listening out of sight all of this available today for only $29.97, and you get that at getmagcast.com.
the
Getmagcast.com.
the offer, if you go to our main website now, is $29.97 for a year. So this is 2 years included, all of the bonuses that you see here, everything baked in for the same price as normally 1 year. So that's the agreement that we worked out with Daniel. And that's what's on offer today at getmadcast.com.
And
So
at actual sticker price, that is $9,785 in real value that's available for $2,997 today because you're part of Daniel's group.
So let's go to the questions. If you have questions, by the way, and you haven't already seen, there's a Q&A section. Go drop your questions into the Q&A. We'll get everybody's questions answered. Promise we'll answer every question before we wrap up today. So let me go over to the questions. So first question is, how much is the ongoing fee to Apple and Google? Are there any other fees that I need to know about? How much is this really going to cost? Are there hidden fees? I'm really concerned. Okay, sorry, that's Anne. So thank you for your question, Anne. The total other compulsory fees are two. You have 25 bucks that you have to pay Google to be registered as a Google Play developer. That's 25 bucks once, and you have $99 a year that you're going to into your Apple developer fee. That's it. Those are the other compulsory fees, other than what it takes to be a member of Madcast. There's no other spinning blades or anything like that, hidden behind a dark corner. It's 25 bucks and 99. Okay, next question is, I have real concerns about my ability to be a graphic designer. I know absolutely nothing about graphic design. How does this go after the first issue? Is this expensive to keep running? Thank you, Ken. It's very simple ongoing. So you can do whatever you want to do to get your second and third and so forth issues put together. We have this really deep relationship with this agency that's based in Australia that does an entire magazine design and layout cover to cover for $397 per issue. So yes, you can.
For our group.
For our
Let's be
group,
clear.
yes. Let's be clear.
That's the team that will be working on your first issue, and that is the grandfathered price that you're able to buy subsequent design and layout packages for.
Right. We pay the same price, by the way. This is not a kid on Fiverr. It is an actual agency. And the key thing here, if you're sitting back going, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't want to know if I want to have this ongoing expense and so on, is to step out of that mindset and think of this as, we don't want you pushing pixels, by which I mean there's no money in graphic design. The money is in the relationships that you're establishing. It's in building the lists and building your audience and coming up with the really great offer that's going to sing and is going to be your $500 offer to the 300. You get the idea. That's where your focus needs to be as a publisher, not on, oh gosh, I've got to have this design and layout done. Yes, that's part and parcel to this, but when you follow the blueprint, you'll be looking at that going, oh, of course, that's pennies. Let's
The
take care of this. Go ahead, sorry.
reason that we spent years before we settled on the agency we're working with now as a solution is this is so important. You need to look like a professional publication and everything changes. You need to have the confidence that when this comes back from the designers, I'm going to publish a magazine that my family, my closest friends, let alone the market in general, won't be able to believe the level of professional publication that has come forth from my membership at Magcast.
Next question. By the way, Edith, George, Stan, Kelly, anybody else has questions, pop them into the Q&A. Let me just scroll up here and make sure we haven't missed any. Okay, here's a question coming in from Ethan. Ethan is asking, so what happens for marketing and promotion? Are there other tools built into the platform that I can use to market the magazine? How does this work for ongoing and promotional efforts and so forth? Okay, so yes, the ongoing tools and what have you, there are a couple of tools that are outstanding that are really important to you in your Madcast adventure. Their most important one is called OTI. We have our own store also that lets you offer discounts from 0 up to 100% off. All kinds of really great tools that you'll be using. It's not really important to get into the mechanics of this stuff. Suffice to say, after doing this for 10 years, we've got good tools for you. Whether it's promoting an individual article, whether it's promoting an entire issue, subscription, we've got tools for you. There you go.
I guess I'd wrap that answer up also. When we talk about a blueprint, it's not a single blueprint that everybody must follow. The blueprint, if you like, leverages certain foundational principles within which there is enormous scope for us to tailor the blueprint to leverage your personal situation, your personal strengths or preferences, so that the blueprint that you go to market with is going to be potentially entirely different from the blueprint that Kevin goes to market with, or that Kylie does, or John. So I want you to understand this blueprint is a tailored plan for you and your magazine and the market that you're addressing.
So next question is super simple one. When do I get paid and how? Great question. Super simple. And I think that was Chris who's asking that. Super simple. Apple and Google are going to be the ones paying you. They're not paying me. That's part of what happens with that $25 registration and the $99 registration is not only are we putting you front and center as the brand, but it's also establishing banking relationships between you and Apple and you and Google such that when you make sales in their stores, they pay you, they don't pay me. Any sales that come through our store, we're going to be paying you on those directly, much the same as Apple and Google. So that's how you get paid. It's once a month. Super simple. As for other stuff, if you have relationships with affiliate platforms, you have relationships with JV partners, things like that, all of that, they're paying you directly. We have no involvement, no knowledge of it unless you tell us. Fine, your prerogative entirely. And there you go. That's your in your ballywick as publisher. Okay, next question is how much tech is involved? I'm not a tech person by any means, and frankly, this scares me a little bit. Okay, I get it. The amount of tech that's involved is akin to being able to operate a web browser and operate Word. That's about as much in a mail client. As long as you can use your email, you can use something like Word or Google Docs, and you can operate a web browser to drag and drop, you're going to be just fine in Magcast. This
Yeah, the
isn't
whole
you having to
point of
learn how to code.
Magcast. Yeah, the whole point of
So
it is you don't have to take care of any of the technicalities.
it's yeah, this is not a low code platform. It's no code. All of this, the heavy lifting technology wise, we take care of. So last question that we have here, unless anybody else has any others to drop in, last question I want to address is what's the time frame from the time I register to the time I'm actually live and making money from a magazine? So the ballpark time from what we see when somebody registers today to the time their first issue is live is somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks. That's a fair and reasonable time frame. Some people go full turbo out of the gate and they've got their first issue live in the stores in that first month. Other people sort of go at a more measured pace, be it because that's what their schedule allows or whatever. 8 weeks tends to be sort of the high end. If you're more than that, cool. The magazine membership is still going to be there for you. The clock ain't ticking until you click publish. There's no concern there if it takes you longer than that. That's just us trying to give some sort of a loose operating parameter on that.
I guess the final thought I would like to leave everybody with is when you join Magcast, you actually we're instructing you to consider us as your team. We're a team involved in your magazine and your company, but we're not on the payroll. Okay, so we're your tech team. We help you with customer support. We also help you in presentation situations, or if you've got a big opportunity, we'll meet with you specifically to address that opportunity, how best to handle it. And you know what? In some cases, we'll join that meeting for you. So
We're
we
with you. Yeah.
become an extended part of your team. You're not out there flying your flag on your own. You've got some real bench strength.
So on that note, if we have no more questions, we'll wrap up. I'll leave everybody with this final closing thought. We all have pivotal moments in our lives. For me, it was the day I moved to California, the day I met my wife, the day my son was born, when Damien and I first met, and the day we published our first magazine. And I hope for you, this is that same kind of day too, that this is a pivotal moment. We'll see you on the inside.